Pat, you've had months to put this team together. You've got a few seeings of them on the floor. What do you still try to learn from from what you've got, and what will tomorrow tell you as you step up in competition, do you think?
Well, tomorrow's going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell both teams a lot. I think scheduling a major non-conference game like this early in the schedule, tells you a lot about your team, and you're going to learn a lot more and know a lot more tomorrow about 2 o'clock. And, it's going to be a big stage. Obviously, it's going to be a huge crowd. There's a lot of hype around the game. So, it's fun. I know our guys are juiced up. There's energy around the city. I think there's energy on campus. So, it's going to be a big-time college basketball atmosphere and a big-time college basketball game. So, I always say, Coach Prosser used to say, you find out what's inside the orange when you squeeze it. So, both teams are going to get squeezed tomorrow. It's probably a bad pun with the orange, but I didn't mean to use the pun there.
Pat, when you go back and look at the game Monday night, was there anything that stands out just in terms of things you guys are going to work on to get, cleaned up heading into this game?
Yeah, I thought our rebounding could have been a little better. We really defended. I think the numbers spoke to that. All of our effort statistics spoke to how hard we played. I think I mentioned in the press conference after the game, our guys' attention to detail on scouting report, both on personnel and then the systematic things that they do in the half court, especially with all their sets. Our rebounding was good. I don't think it was great. There was some numbers there. I think that could have been cleaned up. Some of our decision making, but I felt like we really shared the ball and took care of the ball and things like that.
Yep. And speaking of the scouting, Rick Barnes' team has been kind of known for their toughness and their defense. Is that something that kind of stands out with this team when you scout them?
Yeah, Coach Barnes' teams are always known as some of the most, or the best defensive teams in the country, some of the most tenacious and tough. That's always been the brand of his teams, and this team is no different. I have the utmost respect for Rick Barnes. He is not a good coach, but a great coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach and has had an amazing amount of success throughout his years. And his team is tough and rugged, and they're disciplined, and they're explosive as well. So we have our hands full, and the guys have been leaning forward in preparation and in scouting the same way they have for each and every game, whether it's the 2 games in the Bahamas, 2 exhibition games, our tip-off game on Monday night, and this one. We give the same amount of attention and excellence to every single scout, regardless of who we play. But we got to be on it. They got great players, great coach, and a system that's difficult to play against.
What kind of problems does Zakai Ziegler present? He's not the biggest, and I think he averaged only right around 12, but defensively, he's just so good.
He's a great player. He's a great player. He is, the heart and soul. I think he's been. They don't connect. Obviously, is a lottery pick, and he's going to be a great NBA player. But I really even feel like last year the heart and soul of that team is number 5. You can just see it when you watch tape. He just he gives courage to the players around him. He's got such a presence to him on the floor. He affects the game on both sides. And you mentioned his defensive acumen, just his tenacity, his grit, his ability to touch the ball and disrupt, a la Chucky Hepburn. He brings a lot of the things to the table from a defense and really from an offensive standpoint that Chucky does. I think it'll be a really interesting, cool matchup between those two. I don't know him personally, but again, when you just study a team and you watch on tape, you can see the way that he leads and the belief that his teammates have on him. He's maybe small in stature, but he's got a huge heart, a lot of grit, a lot of tenacity, and I have a lot of respect for him. And we're going to have our hands full, but our guys are up and ready for that challenge.
I was going to ask about that matchup specifically. I don't think it gets much better than, I'm having those 2 guys at point guard going up against each other. Can you just kind of, what kind of there's the size difference, obviously, but like, what else about their games kind of stand out as being, a similar but different?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are, a ton of similarities. And you talk about, he and Chucky, Corn's been really good for us as
Right.
well. We have, a little of that two-headed monster where, I think maybe if you look like what's the difference, and they obviously have other guys that play the point guard role, but like, he's the heart and soul and plays the majority of the minutes, as many minutes as he can play, he's going to play until he falls over. I think we can come at you a little bit with a 1-2 punch, obviously with Chucky and with Corn, but it does jump off the page to you how similar those guys are in so many ways, because all those things that I just described about number 5 for Tennessee, you could say the same exact thing about Chucky Hepburn. He makes people around him better. He's tough as nails. He's a tenacious defender. He's a dynamic offensive player as well. He has the belief of his teammates and the respect of every opponent he'll ever play against. So it'll be a really good college basketball matchup between two elite point guards.
And then, you obviously mentioned just, Tennessee lost, a huge part of their scoring in Dalton Connect, and then they bring over a transfer in Chaz Lanier out of North Florida. How is he kind of, as you watch that first game, as you have so many new guys trying to fit in here, how did you feel like that he fit into their scheme? And
Who's he? Who you talking about? You talking about two?
Yeah, Chaz Lanier.
Yeah.
Their transfer.
Yeah. I mean,
how did he fit into their scheme?
I think he's a guy that is assumed. He's assumed that role. That I don't know what Dalton Connect's number was last year, but I can use his name because he no longer plays for him. We just have this policy. We use jersey numbers and not names. But Kid 2 is a really, really good player, man. I mean, he was one of the darlings of the transfer portal, if you will. Obviously, his success he had at North Florida, his numbers last year were gaudy in terms of, his metrics, everything like that. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, can shoot it. In a lot of ways, he's very, very similar, to Connect, that's for sure. And wired to score, big, rises up, high release, but plays with a ton of confidence. So obviously he's one of those guys. But they got a bunch of firepower. I mean, obviously 11. I know his dad. He's an assistant. His dad's actually a heck of a guy and a really good coach. Similar, big wing that can just flat score it and fill it up. And we go all the way down the line. I mean, they're deep, they're experienced, they're physical, they're skilled. But I know I've been talking all about Tennessee. They got to play us too.
Right.
So I like my team a lot, as you know.
Obviously, James Scott did a lot of good things as a freshman last year, had a good game to start the year. But how big of a challenge, or what are you looking for specifically in this matchup with him having to go against Felix Opar, number 34, with how kind of physical and bruising he is?
Yeah, he's, they're similar in a lot of ways. He's older than James. James is, I've told you many times last year, I think he was the third youngest player in all of Division I, just turned 19 years old. But, 34's, man, he's long, athletic, physical. People sleep on his skill. He's a pretty skilled kid, too. He's really good off righty-lefty around the rim, runs the floor, blocks shots, deflects the ball. He's an active player. And obviously they bring, other bigs that are very strong and physical and skilled off the bench as well. Like I said, I think one of their strengths is their depth as well, and that's one of our strengths. But James is similar in a lot of ways. He's also, long and athletic and bouncy and blocks shots and finishes at the rim in the same way. So that'll be a very interesting matchup as well.
Coach James said, I think back in the Bahamas, that he does look to really dunk everything. What is that about, that mindset? And obviously, it's, the percentage is higher if you do that. But what is that about his mindset of wanting, kind of hunting that and looking for it?
I mean, I think he's got a knack for it. I think it's in his DNA. He's just so springy and so bouncy. He's so fast from the floor to the rim. He's so fast, from the ball to his hands to the rim. He's got great instincts. I think he's one of the better lob threats in the whole country, just because of those instincts, right? Like, as soon as he has space on a roll, the ball goes up in the air, he's got such a gift for timing of both his feet and his hands. The other thing I've told you guys, I think, many times about James is his basketball IQ. James is, we talk about, the veteran nature of our team, and that we have guys with a pro approach that go about their business and scouting and preparation and player development, all that stuff, because they're, part of it is that's in their DNA, but they're older as well. They're 20, 21, 22, 23. I think we might have a 24-year-old. I don't know. But James has an old soul, and Kania's a little bit like that as well. James is crazy mature in his approach to everything about what he does, almost to the point where I have to drag him out of the gym instead of trying to encourage him to get in the gym.
You mentioned the two-headed monster. When Corin, he brings you a ton when he comes off the bench. What do you like about having two guys like that? And I think for a minute you played them together the other night.
Yeah.
Do you see? Will we see that a lot?
Yeah. I mean, they're it's not like they're just two players. Many guys you can have on the floor that can dribble, pass, and shoot is possible is better. Corin's just he's a lights on guy. First of all, when those lights get bright, like we got several of those guys, a lot of them. But man, when those lights come on, he's different. I've coached guys throughout the course of my career, and I'm not saying he's a good practice player, because he is. Again, his approach, impressed by it. There's nothing negative I can say, but man, those lights come on, he's a different dude. His nickname, I think, coming in was Scoring Corin, but there's way more to his game than that. He facilitates really well. He's a great teammate. Players love to play with him. So, we're really blessed to have two guys like that could assume the point guard position, but that they can play together, and they're a handful.
Do you feel good about, after the game Monday, you're talking about, I'm hopefully getting 20,000 people there tomorrow for the game. Do you feel good about that? I saw the video of you going around campus talking to students, and then we also saw last night that, that Rick Heber was giving away some tickets that he purchased, and, he said he might do it again today. Just wanted to get your thoughts on, how the crowd is looking.
Yeah. First of all, how cool is that Rick Heber does that? You talk about a guy that shows his love to the University of Louisville and Louisville basketball, so I greatly appreciate that. I might have mentioned that number the other night. Whether that I'm not saying if it's not that number, it's a disappointment. I'm not saying that at all. What I want everybody to know is how appreciative I am of the people that come. I don't want to think that the group that came the other night, that I'm saying anything in any way disparaging. You know what? They were electric.
Yes.
Electric. I don't know how many were there, but it was electric.
Yeah.
And, I know the numbers are going to be more than they were the other night. I know that's going to happen. That 20 would be pretty cool, but, it's about the energy they bring. And that 12, 13, whatever it was the other day, electric. Totally changed the complexion of the game. It makes an impact on the game that is really undescribable. And I know the numbers will be big, and I know the energy is going to be electric, and hearing that Yum roar over and over and over again, that factor, that sixth man is going to be a major factor in the game. We need everybody, and I know how this fan base is. They're going to bring it.
When you think about other really big games you've played in, are there any other, because you mentioned, when you're talking about just how different that environment was on Monday night, you mentioned that you played in a ton of other big games. Are there any other environments that really stand out to you, looking back on your time at Winthrop and Charleston, places you played at?
See, it's not about the size of the venue. It's just about that. It's about the energy. Whether we had a 5,500 seat arena at the College of Charleston when that place was packed, and we sold out the entire season last year. And I know it's not that side of the venue, but it's just the energy in the building. So, the thing that I said the other day is you walk in and you do pinch yourself sometimes, because you look around and you're like, this is an NBA arena, and it's ours, and it's not just how pretty the lights are and how cool the aesthetics are. It's the Reds sitting in those seats, standing on their feet, cheering and going crazy to give us that extra advantage in the game. And it was unbelievable the other night, and I appreciate everybody that came out and the factor that they made in the game.
Pat, from a national standpoint, there are still some out there who haven't been privy to seeing what you've been building so far, but there are some who have. But how big of of an early statement would it be for you guys to take down Tennessee and to show people like what you guys are starting to build here at Louisville?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be very impactful. It would be obviously a message nationally, but like, I just, that's the results, and we're totally focusing on the process, which is, you know, we leave here, the weightlifting session that the guys are having right now, and then the film session that we have right at 3 o'clock, and then the practice we have after that. And that's been the focus since June 5th, and these guys come together, and you know, I just believe if you stay focused on that, the results will take care of themselves. We're not preparing any different for this game than we did against Spalding. We're not. Like the standard's a standard. Like every preparation is elite, and I feel really good about our guys' approach to this game. We're excited. We're fortunate for this opportunity. Obviously, we play a great team. It's going to be a great college basketball atmosphere, and we're looking forward to it.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who was the
Good to
free
know
agent?
about the jersey numbers and not the names. It makes it a bit easier for.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's just how I am.
No, for sure.
See you guys.
See ya.
Coach.